You know what I'm gonna be pissed about?
What are you gonna be pissed about?
I'm gonna be so pissed if the 2 minutes that we missed was the best part of the movie.
Oh my god, I know. Dude, do you us walking into the theater late, we missed all of the setup we needed. Turned out we missed an hour's worth of character development in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah, so if you haven't figured out, Dom and I just got back, literally just got back from watching the Borderlands movie. And the internet hates it, Dom. They hate it. They're so mad.
They are. The
Yeah,
internet's always mad though. That's
right. That's why we had to do our boots on the ground research. We had to get in there, let the people know what the internet's most level headed critics think. Because that's what sells well in headlines. Right down the middle opinions. Tell me what you thought. Tell me what you thought. Give me a bird's eye view of the situation.
yeah, I think not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's something I can totally put on again. It's something I wouldn't mind watching again,
Sure.
but there's a lot of stuff missing. They cram like a 50-hour game in an hour and 20 minutes, or I don't know how long,
Right.
like an hour and 30 minutes or something.
Yeah. You got to pick and choose a little bit, no matter what.
Totally.
For sure.
They chose, but it seems like they chose a lot of the things that are like, they just didn't choose anything that was in the game besides the costume and set design.
Yeah, that's something I brought up last podcast that um, I'll reiterate that I think for video game adaptations, set design and costume design are generally pretty good. And I have a feeling the fact that they have all of these 3D assets in like this big world to choose from, I'm sure must help an art department. I don't, as opposed to like adapting a book where you have to match what's like in people's heads.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And yeah, this movie uh, looked great. I have some problems with cinematography and stuff, but just like the general in like screenshots, the way everything looked felt very Borderlands, very clearly.
Totally.
That was a very good point.
Yeah. It also, we were saying in our last podcast, which also we put out the day that we saw it, so we got kind of a fresh take on our
Yeah,
opinions of the trailer. It actually was exactly what the trailer was. Like we said, the trailer was super mediocre, and the movie is super mediocre. I literally don't think it's as bad as people are making it out.
I agree.
I don't think I don't think it deserves a 6 on Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't think it deserves a 3 on IGN. I
Totally.
think it seems like they just want this to be a kids movie. Like, let's get these kids to play Borderlands.
Sure.
And then when
It's
they play
got
Borderlands, they can watch the people get dismembered and ripped apart and shit.
yeah. Yeah, this movie I didn't Google this. Is Borderlands R or PG-13?
I think it's PG-13. There's no cuss
Oh,
words.
that
I
explains.
think they said
Yeah, that explains a lot. I mean, Borderlands is kind of immature, I guess, so PG-13 doesn't surprise me too much. But I think Jack Black said a fuck or two, maybe. But yeah, it was pretty non-violent, which I feel like Borderlands should be a bit
oh,
violent
totally
for sure.
violent. Also, yeah, a couple of like kill shots in the movie I noticed, like a character would shoot someone, like
Yeah.
you would see them aim down the sights and shoot and get ready to like make this like massive blow to someone, but it didn't show like the end result. Like it just
Totally.
would cut to another scene very
Yeah. Yeah, so I want to go through the beats of the movie a little bit, but just speaking.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
we care if we spoil anything since nobody's gonna see it?
That's what I was gonna say. So I would love to talk about like the setting, general thoughts on like how the characters are represented, before going through the beats of the movie. That way there's a clear like part where spoilers start. The beginning of the video, anyone can watch it. Then at a certain point, we assume you've seen it or don't care to see it, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
So that should be about everyone.
There was 4 other people in the theater when we went to go see it today.
Yeah. I was really hoping for it to just be us because I wanted to just talk out loud the entire time. But there were a couple. There was like a father and son, and I was like, damn it, I can't ruin this beautiful experience these two are having. Yeah, I think the casting's actually really good. I think the casting's very good. I will say that when I picture like Lilith from the game, I picture I know she's not an actor, but I picture someone like Hayley Williams from Paramore. Like I picture someone who's a little more, yeah, she's like a classic redhead, but she has a little bit of like a brightness and energy to her that Kate Blanchett did not have in this. But that being said, Kate Blanchett was probably one of my favorite parts. I thought she did a really good job with what she had. I thought Jamie Lee Curtis did a really good job with what she had. Claptrap, I was pretty mixed on. Jack Black everyone did a fine job. Like the entire main cast, like each person I like as an actor and kind of like exudes enthusiasm naturally, like charisma. So I really didn't dislike anyone's performance, even some of Jack Black's, scripted or improv, I don't know, but some of his jokes made me laugh. Like most of them didn't, but there were a few jokes where I was like, oh, that's pretty clever. I thought there were a few good jokes throughout. There wasn't too much like terrible Marvel humor where you just like groan and it hurts. That's kind of what I was expecting with everyone like hating on this movie so much. I expected to just be like dying slowly in my seat, and it was just very mediocre. The whole thing was just like very fine. I think I said on the last podcast that I'm hoping this will at least be a movie you can put on with friends and like kind of make fun of, and it's not, for better or for worse. It's pretty flatline.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would say that the only actor that was kind of bad, and not, I don't take this on that person. I think just lack of direction.
Sure.
Was Kevin Hart. Like they kind of fed him some one-liners that were just didn't land, or they just were pretty cheesy.
Agreed. His character was almost like the comic relief in a cast that's entirely comic relief already. Like, even Kate Blanchett is supposed to be like a hardened badass, which again, I've never really seen Lilith be that necessarily in the games. I also don't play Borderlands for the story. Let me be very clear here. I put a shit ton of hours into Borderlands 2, and if you asked me to like recap the beats of the story of that game, I could not. But like even Lilith like has a ton of humorous moments, and she's supposed to be the like upset dad of the group.
No,
but yeah, Kevin Hart is really underutilized, honestly.
I agree.
Speaking of the direction, I think the story is cohesive. Like, I was never confused about what the characters were trying to accomplish. Like, it's all very simple, but I know I made fun of Eli Roth. Eli Roth does a good enough job, but there were some weird directions in it with like the delivery of certain lines felt really off or weird. There were a few lines where it felt like they almost mumbled through it a little bit, and I like didn't even know what the character had just said.
Yeah. I think you kind of nailed it. There was not a lot of direction. Yeah, it just seemed kind of, I don't even know how to explain it. It just seemed kind of blah.
Not a lot of direction is a really funny way to put it, but I think you're right. Like, this movie's trying to be quick and flashy and bright and funny and vibrant and quick, which to me makes me think of Scott Pilgrim, which has such character and like such a vision from the director, and this felt not like that.
No, yeah, totally.
It felt a little bit directionless, and it felt pretty bland.
Mm-hmm.
For the kind of action set pieces and sequences, I thought it was, again, mostly just fine, kind of what you would expect from a modern PG-13 action movie with guns. There were some things I liked. There's a few action-y things where in a scene, you know, two people are fighting, this thing moves or this thing happens, and then they keep fighting and this thing happens, and then, you know, the end of the fight ends with the results of those two things, like, finally, you know, coming together in the environment, sort of.
Yeah.
The things that are bad, I think, is that I swear there's not, like, a single wide shot in the entire fucking movie. It's, like, all very close, which does feel a little bit cinematic, but it also feels like they spent their budget on... they didn't spend their budget on, like, massive sets or anything. There were a couple shots early on with Cate Blanchett on Pandora where they were trying to show, like, how much of a wasteland it is and everything. But most of it's very close. A lot of the action is very close. There were some moments in the firefights and stuff where I was like, I'm not exactly sure who shot who or like where that person went.
Yeah.
I think there was during one scene where you leaned over to me and you're like, how'd they get back there? Like, it's just like not clear exactly how this place is laid out. But I don't know. Any thoughts on the action?
Yeah, I feel like everything was very safe on this movie. Like, it wasn't so bad that it was unwatchable, but it wasn't so good that I'm expecting a sequel or anything, or like it's gonna draw me into anything else. Like, I do want to play Borderlands again because it reminded me, because I've played it before. I don't see this making... I mean, if it makes young kids play this game who have never played it, great, but I kind of don't see it going that way just because it was such a safe, you know, Netflix movie that's going to come out in the summer and you're going to watch it and eat popcorn and never talk about it again. It wasn't too brutal and it wasn't boring. It was just like just no direction again. Like you said, we didn't know where people were, what they were doing. Like,
right.
And as I said before, like there's a scene where Cate Blanchett's character like cocks her gun and then shoots it, like for this like grand like, oh, I'm gonna watch someone like, you know, fly 10 feet back, and it cut away. I'm like, what the fuck was that shot for?
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, the action was very, very okay.
I think
Power Rangers Z.
Yeah, and I think you're right when it feels very much like a streaming movie. I forget what that there was a Netflix like Ryan Reynolds time travel sci-fi movie.
I liked that one. I thought it was okay. It wasn't amazing.
Adam?
Oh yeah,
Project
Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, that one, I guess, by virtue of me bringing it up, means it stood out in my mind somewhat. But that to me felt like kind of a quintessential streaming movie too.
Hmm.
It's like it's not low budget, like they had a big budget, but it just feels like kind of safe, and it feels like something you watch with your family maybe and then never really think about too much again. Speaking of Kate Blanchett cocking and firing her gun, Borderlands is like all about cool guns. Like we talked about this with Fallout, where it doesn't just Fallout doesn't just nail this kind of a story in that world, but it nails what it feels like to play the game as well. And playing Borderlands is all about guns and getting new guns. And like, I don't need the characters to be like face against every wall and cabinet, like spamming E and trying to like, I don't want that. But
Yeah.
I swear there's not like a close up on a single gun the entire movie. Like guns are just not outside of Marcus, right? Marcus.
Yeah, but
Outside of him talking about guns, I feel like there's not much gun stuff.
no. And it's so funny because they do all just go through like these combat scenes where they're like, killing people. Like you would think that like, oh, look at that attachment. I could just put on my gun really quick and use this, but like none of that. Like there isn't, which was like one of the best parts. You kill the boss and you take their weapon or
Yeah.
disassemble it and make it a new one. Like none of that.
Yeah, you're right. Even just having a small moment of there's a big bad guy with some cool gun. Oh, okay. Actually, there's a single moment where one bad guy, now that I'm saying this exact example, there is the tiniest spoiler in the world. A guy has a flamethrower at one point and they kill him, and one of the characters uses the flamethrower.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any flamethrowers in Borderlands, but maybe I'm wrong. But more stuff like that would be nice. Maybe one person at some point getting a new gun that does something cool. That's another thing is in Borderlands there's so many cool guns that do so many different things. Almost every gun has like an alternate fire mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
I asked Sam on the way home, I was like, based on that, would you have known at all that there were like different types of guns in the game other than just like guns that fire regular bullets? She's like, no. It's like there's corrosive guns and others. There's the one that
acid.
Yeah.
All those types of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I wanted the one where when you run out of bullets, it turns into a grenade and you throw it. Like,
Yes.
like yeah,
Why?
I don't know. There's
And
just not. And one more thing on the characters too. I really like the cast. The girl that was cast as Tina, I think, did a really good job. She was a lot less unhinged than in the game, and again, in a cast of characters where like everyone's the comic relief, it would have been nice to have her be more of a wild card. Towards the beginning, she's like throwing some bombs and stuff like that, but pretty quickly she falls into like a more stereotypical I'm the kind of wacky annoying kid role, which is not really what Tina is. It's not, again, not terrible. They didn't do an absolutely horrible job with her character, but she could have just been so much better. They played it safe. And it would have been nice to see more chaos from her.
yeah, it's very interesting. It's like Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn was like seeing all the movies, and I feel like they're like,
Right.
do that, but let's bring it back like 60%.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's Harley Quinn's a really good comparison. Yeah. I'm trying to not get into spoilers yet. The villain was really boring. The villain was so boring, which this is not a spoiler if you've seen the trailers or anything. The bad guy's not Handsome Jack. And when you have that sort of expectation and like that idea in your mind from the games of like super memorable fun villain, like the villain's one of the best characters in Borderlands, and kind of a letdown to have just like, I'm a big corporate bad guy. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it was super boring. There wasn't a lot of bosses in the thing, which also sucks. Like,
Sure.
I would have liked to see, like, at least some, like, even John Wick has bosses.
Totally. Oh shit, this guy just walked in the room. Yeah. Baseline, heavy baseline comes in. Yeah. Speaking of that too, Borderlands has fucking amazing music in the game.
Yeah.
And the music in this was handpicked by Eli Roth. I can guarantee you.
Yeah, we had some
my
Ace of Spades from Motorhead.
Yeah. Well, I love that song, but
But why?
Tom, don't pick the one good moment. I loved there's a moment really early on where Kate Blanchett shoots a single guy. You think it might be the start of like a big fight, but she has like a sniper, and she's like looking over this area, and then she shoots one guy, and right when she shoots one guy, the music just comes in like and she doesn't kill anyone else. The music is so weird in this. It's like weird new metal-y, and I just man, it's so hard to not keep going back to Fallout. Like in video games, like open world video games, there's always downtime, almost always, where you're just like traveling from point A to B. And I know in a movie that might seem boring, but it conveys the idea of the game. And there's a lot of moments in Borderlands where you're just kind of walking and you got the like ambient guitar that's like a little bit westerny, kind of Americana a little bit. And yeah, when the action ramps up, it gets a little more like sci-fi, like drum and bass. I don't know if that's the right term, but I was really missing like the sort of ambiance of Pandora.
No, totally. I mean, and that's something that they did really well in the two other great adaptations, Fallout and Last of Us. Like, they had music from the game in both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another game which especially an open world game, like you said, Fallout, Skyrim, like Baldur's, any Humongous has background like music and Doom that draws you, like, it's so memorable, like you said, like it's such a good soundtrack. And for them to just they disregarded a lot, actually, now that we're thinking. Guns, the characters are a little off, but regardless,
Yeah.
it's fine.
The I think the effects overall were actually pretty decent. Like Claptrap's a fully CG character, and he looked pretty good.
Oh, it's not Jack Black is not inside of a little box.
I don't think so. That would have been fun if they went like R2D2 style. There was like some weird jank here and there, but it feels a little bit nitpicky. I saw there was some weird like, digital motion blur that was like added to certain shots that looked really weird to me. There was one shot that really stood out to me where Claptrap is like moving pretty quick across the screen, but the camera's tracking him. So Claptrap's like pretty much center stage and the whole shot is moving. And Claptrap had motion blur on him, even though he was like still in the frame. I don't know if you caught that. It was really funky looking.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, there were like a couple weird effects moments like that, but I don't know. It's probably nitpick territory with everything else we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's also nitpicky, but I'm going to bring it up. Also, not really a spoiler, but there was one scene where there's a fight and Kate Blanchett's character falls down or rolls down a thing, and like her body like hits one like surface and then falls to another, and her body was just kind of like rubbery, like as she like transitioned to the two surfaces. That was a little weird, but besides that, like, there wasn't really too much. It wasn't as bad as like some Marvel movies, like big budget
100%.
Marvel movies.
100%. Yep. No, I agree. I was kind of pleasantly surprised at the the level of effects. And some of them they went like more simple, in like a good way. I liked how um, uh, at one point like they're using a device that has like some UI and it looks like the UI from the game. I thought that was fun. Um, yeah, again, some action stuff here and there is pretty fun. Uh, do we get into it a little bit now?
Yeah, we can. There's not
So
much else.
yeah. So the first again we missed a couple minutes, but
Yeah.
the first couple scenes are not on Pandora, and they have like a Blade Runner aesthetic. It's like very neo-noir, and that immediately threw me off. I was like, I've never seen anything like this in Borderlands. And like in Borderlands 3, I'm trying to remember. Borderlands 1 and 2, I think you're only on Pandora.
Yeah, I think you're only on Pandora.
Pre-sequel and 3, you go to other planets. I don't remember seeing anything like that. It was a little weird aesthetically.
Yeah.
But then they're like on Pandora the rest of the time, and it looks very Borderlands. So I don't know. But that threw me off a little bit. Lilith's introduction is so corny. It's so cheesy. Again, just because maybe I'm wrong. I just don't remember Lilith's character being John Wick, like, or not even like Jason Statham from Transporter. She's like doing shots at a bar, and a guy's like, "Hey, hun," and she like punches him in the nose. It's bleeding. It's so weird. It's like I don't remember that being her character. Yeah, and then she like she shoots all the dude. They're like, "We have a proposition for you," and she's like, "Bah, bah, bah," and just kills everyone immediately. And then this actually got a chuckle out of me. The guy like stands up from the back. He like does a slow clap, and he's like, "Very well done." And she shoots him too. That made me laugh.
I feel like
that
he
was
wanted
so
that
over
part
the
to
top.
be funny. Yeah, I think he wanted it to be, but it wasn't. I feel like it wasn't as good because it was so John Wicky. It wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
God damn it! Why are they making it jump?
Yeah, a lot. The face manipulator thing was kind of, again, like the beginning of the movie felt like a different sci-fi franchise or something.
Yeah,
because I don't remember anything like that in the game. Lilith gets she's a bounty hunter, but she gets a contract to save the big bad guy's daughter, who has fallen into captivity or whatever. A very very cliched plot line that we've seen a million times. Like fucking escape to New York, or is it LA? I don't remember. One of those, which is basically not a parody movie, but it's like making fun of that plot line. Like it was so overdone in the 80s. And that's their plot. She gets down to Pandora and finds Claptrap. His introduction I actually thought was pretty good. It made me laugh.
It reminded me of when I first met Claptrap, for sure.
Yeah,
the game.
Totally. Yeah, they find the girl immediately. No conflict at all. The pace of the movie's kind of weird too. It's a quick pace, which I appreciate. The movie's what, like an hour 40, right?
Yeah, it wasn't long at all. It was a pretty quick movie.
Yeah.
Hour 42 minutes.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, she's like, we're gonna need some wheels, and that's when she kills a single guy, and hard and heavy rock starts playing. I did like she looks down the scope, and it's just a scope directly from the game. I think it's one of the Jacobs scopes, which is cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
they do that shot in a bunch of movies where there's someone looking through a gun and then it shows the scope. But of course, it's a Borderlands scope. That's fun.
Yeah, it's this movie does have a lot of cliche things happening in it, and I know I've been saying that word a lot, I feel like, lately, but it's a very safe movie.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens that shouldn't happen in it. an action movie, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. No, totally. It very much there's like zero character development. Like when I'm recapping it in my mind, it feels like I'm almost speeding through it, but it's like this is literally all you learn. There's like nothing other than the surface level what literally happens in the scene. Like all you get about Lilith is that she's like a hardened character. That's it. Like you learn a little more about her later,
Yeah.
but there's just like nothing early on to make you grab to these characters. She meets again, she goes to this planet. I think it's a whole planet, and she doesn't know where the girl is, where Tina is, and she's like, Claptrap's like, it's gonna be like 100-day walk, and she's like, well, we better get a car, and then drives like, yeah, straight to her. What Claptrap like has her coordinates? Is that what it is?
Yeah, he found just the pictures like of where she was last seen on through like the camera. But it's literally said 138-day walk. It was the next scene, like they were there.
Yeah. It reminds me of oh, I'm sorry.
It's literally as fast as you said it was. Like you're not exaggerating how fast this movie is.
It reminds me of episode 9 Skywalker, what is it?
Right.
Where just like where like a scene would be like going, and then someone would just be like, oh, that's right, we have this, and it would move to the next scene, and you're like, what? Like, oh, we're just moving on now. Or they're like, oh yeah, we just know exactly where she is, let's go. She also has this device to like what is it, to communicate with the Atlas guy that hired her, right? And it breaks immediately, and Claptrap's like, this is completely unrepairable. And then like 30 minutes later, Claptrap's like, I found some parts on the ground and I fixed it. But at that point, she doesn't want Atlas to find her, so she picks it and breaks it immediately again. There's so many like dumb little plot device things that just like appear and disappear in moments just to like fucking get to the next scene. Yeah, so then she finds Tina immediately, and Tina's like, I'm a sweet innocent girl, fine, let's go. And of course she's Tina, so she's not. That's another problem I have is the movie is it has zero setup for a lot of the characters, the world. Like, you don't understand how the world works at all unless you've played the games. But then if you have played the games, nothing is a surprise, you know?
Yeah.
Like when Tina's like, oh, I'm the sweet innocent girl, you already know she's not. But if you haven't played the games, then you have no idea what any of this means anyway. It's like, it's very strange.
It's very strange. It's weird because Fallout, I know we always talk about Fallout in The Last of Us, but
yeah, it's a good example. It's just an example of someone that did it perfect. It's hard not to reference.
Yeah, but it's like Fallout, they made their own story within the realm of the world that we know of Fallout. And then even in The Last of Us, they added scenes. So it's like, even if you played the game 10 times, there was still like, they added things to make it better, to make it flow better. One, it's like, well, instead of adding things, how about this? We take things away. And it's like, there's so much of it that I'm not invested in any one character. I don't care about any character. They're just people on a screen. It was really weird. The direction of the movie is just weird. Fuck you, Eli Roth.
Just make Thanksgiving 2 and get it over with.
Seriously.
Yeah, and that we were talking about this like right when the movie got out, of the first kind of like big set piece action sequence is right after she finds Tina and Tina's trying to not get taken.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets like on top of the structure that Lilith found her in, and she starts throwing like explosive teddy bears, and it feels like it was filmed on a green screen with literally no direction. It's so weird. She's like tossing these, and it feels like she's throwing them like on the floor, like 3 inches in front of her feet. But then it cuts to Kate Blanchett, and they're like landing all around her and exploding. And there's this weird like insert shot where she like throws them behind her back, and it's really goofy.
It was weird, and like I know like this Ariana Greenblatt has like been in so many things, and everything that she's been in has been so good. But yet just lack of direction. They're just like, and now you're gonna throw these teddy bears off. Good, cool. Next shot. Like they just took what they got and ran with it.
Yeah. And then we get introduced to the big psycho dude that is on their team.
Creed.
And I know his technical introduction is in the first scene. So apologies if he has a ton of setup in the first scene. But we basically know nothing about this character. I thought he couldn't talk for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But he says like 3 sentences the whole time. And there's literally zero setup for this character. He just is a part of their group, and you know nothing about him, and he hardly ever talks. But he protects Tina, a dynamic that, again, is still somewhat decent simply because of the charisma of the actors involved.
Yeah.
You know, big, brooding dude paired with like a little girl is just like kind of funny and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that action scene has what I was referencing earlier, where they knock over like this big I don't know, a structured piece, but it's like this big flat thing, and it lands on like a barrel on its side, and then Kate Blanchett runs up it. The big psycho dude jumps at her. She slides down the thing, and he lands on it, and it launches her up to Tina. That was cool. I liked that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, like little just I love in scenes when stuff in the environment, little mistakes. I talked about this in Fallout. Little like, you know, shots that miss that you don't realize hit this thing which is now unstable. Like all those little things that happen during a fight that characters aren't paying attention to, when those come back in a big way is awesome. The fact that it you're not even really thinking about she's trying to get to Tina. You're just thinking about, oh, maybe she's trying to stop the psycho. So the fact that she uses that and like outwits the dude to launch her to Tina is really cool. I thought that was one of the better like action moments in the whole thing.
Yeah, and it also reminds me of Borderlands. That's very Borderlands-esque, of just like, because the game is so humongous that sometimes you're just kind of free firing that shit to see what happens while you're, you know, taking cover, and then you realize, oh, those are barrels over there, and you go
Totally
and avert your thing there. And I wish they did that. I wish they did that a lot more in the game, just because, or in the show, movie.
Whatever it is. Yeah, no, agreed. God, where do they go from there? Oh yeah, then they meet Roland. Kevin Hart comes in.
Oh yeah.
He has an indestructible vehicle. I don't even know. Oh my gosh. Okay.
No, it's tight.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Blow a tire.
It's a tire. Oh man! And then they have to jack it up, and he takes the tire off. That reminded me, like, it's in one of the. I'm pretty sure it's in one of the newer Star Wars trilogy movies where something happens, and they're like, "Oh man, we need to call the police," and you're just like, "There's police in Star Wars?" Like, it feels so way too real. Where they're literally driving this car, and like people are shooting at them, and there's explosions, and like they're getting hit by monsters and shit. They go off a cliff, they blow up a monster and fly through it, and they're like, fucking, we need an oil change. It's so weird. But I'm sorry, one point I did want to make. So when she flies up to where Tina is, Tina has a big rocket launcher, and she's pointing like almost right at her. Like if she fired it, obviously it would hurt her too, which felt very Tina. That was a good thing. I liked that. But then the people that initially kidnapped Tina show up because it's time for a new conflict, and the like leader flies their ship slowly directly at Tina, who has a rocket launcher, and they just wait for her to get there, and she's like, "I'm gonna take you back now." Like, shooter, you both have guns. One of you has a rocket launcher. It's that bothered me, but
Oh, that was dumb. Yeah.
yeah. But then they get in the car chase. The car is 100% indestructible. A weird editing thing. Again, maybe it is nitpicky, but there's the I forget what those monsters are called, but there's that like one wormy monster, and they drive the car right at it. They shoot missiles into it, and then like fly through the hole they make in the monster, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way it's edited is for suspense, where they launch off, they shoot the rockets, they go into the mouth of the bad guy. It cuts to a different angle and it pauses for a moment, like, oh, are they dead? And then the explosion happens and they shoot out the other side. And I'm like, how'd they keep momentum? Like, I think it's just an editing thing where it would have made more sense if they just like kind of kept their momentum. But that felt really strange. Did you catch that? Do you know, am I making a bigger deal out of this?
No, it did. And also, what was weird is about that scene is rockets go faster than cars.
Uh-huh.
So if you shoot the rocket and it takes that 3 seconds it took to set up that scene to happen, and then you drive the monster, I don't understand how it exploded and you came out at the same time.
Yes. Yes, that's fair as well. Yeah, jank. A lot of video games have jank. This movie had jank. So then they drive to go find Jamie Lee Curtis, right? Because she has some idea of where the keys are, and I think she already has one of the keys.
Yes, she had one. Tennis. She's playing tennis.
Yes. And she's like, we have one key, and we know where the other one is. It's in Caustic Caverns. By the way, Jamie Lee Curtis does not disappoint. She's great in this. I wish there was even more of her. She's awesome. She's so funny. Direction be damned. I think she does quite a few facial expressions and just like certain comedy beats that I really don't think were asked of her. She just nails it. She's so funny.
No, totally. I love it when she gets from that whole car scene when they get, which is on the commercials or previews. It's like the monsters. Oh no, it wasn't that part. It was later on. But they go through garbage and she's just like smiling and she holds her little like cleaning device.
Oh yeah,
it's like so cheesy, goofy looking. It's great.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. That was cheesy, but I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
That was campy. That was like good.
Totally.
Oh, did you guys want to use this? Yeah. So, leading into the next scene, this is something that I actually meant to bring up pre-spoiler, but we're getting to when I initially thought of it, so it reminded me. There are so many different enemy types in Borderlands, and again, watching this, you would just assume it's like Power Rangers, like the putties. Where it's just like they only ever fight putties. Like they only ever fight psychos in this. And then they go to Caustic Caverns, which doesn't look like how it looks like in the game, I don't think. They're like in underground tunnels the whole time.
Yeah.
Caustic Caverns has no personality in this. It's like a couple hallways with like a flowing acid pool. But the bad guys they run into are I forget what they're called, but they're the more like religious, I think, fanatic kind of versions of psychos.
Yeah.
And the main characters have to clarify. They're like, no, they might look like psychos, but they're actually not. And it's like, God damn, the one time you can have like a different type of enemy, you have to clarify that it's not the one we've been seeing this entire time. Like there's so many animal type enemies in
Yeah.
in
They never fought the animal types. That
no.
one worm and all
Yeah.
of the dog-like creatures, not one. They're shown in
Yeah.
the movie, but they're not
The
there.
Skags.
Gags, yeah.
Yeah.
Really
From
weird.
Skags to Riches. Sam wrote, I know you can't see on my nice camera, but Sam wrote Border Skags only. So thanks. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, there are like no Skags. Just like one enemy type, one gun type. And it's like, that's the whole fucking game, you guys. It's a bunch of different cool enemies and a bunch of different cool guns.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then they get to Caustic Caverns and they're like, ooh, be careful, this acid can eat everything, and we're gonna have to go along this scary trellis to get over there. And they're walking along the scary trellis, and there's a fucking like pipe behind them that's like bolted into the ceiling. And so you guys can hold on to the pipe, but like the platforms are falling beneath them, and it's like, oh no. And you're like, Jesus Christ, grab onto the handrail.
It was also another 30-second scene.
Yeah.
30 fucking
Yeah.
seconds. Every scene is 30 seconds in this movie.
Yeah, Tina was like, I'll go first, and she clearly is by herself, and then she slips and falls, and it cuts to a wide, and the psycho just like holds her.
Yeah.
We're like, when the hell did he get over there? She just walked over there. So weird.
And I
So
think
weird.
she slipped because it couldn't support her. Like it broke a little bit.
Yeah.
Which would make you think that when it cuts to them all four lined up,
Shoulder to shoulder.
yeah, like, why
Yeah.
does that work all of a sudden?
Yeah,
Okay.
a tiny little girl is like skipping on it, and they're like, be careful, and then yeah, everyone is just like in a conga line on it. Yeah, very, very weird. Then Claptrap distracts the bad guys so that they can get to the room where
Oh.
supposedly, yeah.
This scene pissed me off when
Yeah.
Canis says to Claptrap, "You just gotta go into the main room, go to the main server device, and press off or whatever."
Yeah.
But it was such a generic line that you would hear in like, a game that came out in like 2001.
Totally.
Your next mission is to go into the room and turn off the main server device. It's like,
yeah,
she said that line for a lot. I'm like, what the fuck? Why? Why would you say that?
There was so much, like you said, there's a lot of cliche, like kind of plot devices and stuff that we've seen a million times. But same with dialogue. There's so much dialogue that's just like, I'm pretty sure this is word for word from another movie. Like, yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, one joke that kind of did make me laugh is Claptrap distracts them by like insulting them, and it's just like this wildly like immature thing. And as an audience, you're kind of like, this seems out of character even for Claptrap, and then it cuts to Tina mouthing along with him, and it's like, oh, Tina told him to say that. That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
That was charming.
That was funny.
But yeah, then they get to the room where the second key is to the vault, and Kate Blanchett walks 3 feet into it. It's a room filled with all this shit. I think it's more than a room. I think it's like the whole area they're in. And the first box she sees, she just like pushes it, and she's like, here it is. And to be
30.
fair, it is a setup. To be fair, it is a setup that she finds it easy because she's spoiler alert if you haven't played the game, she has like powers and shit. Which is something that they try, again, this is one of those things where they try and like hide it from the audience to be a reveal. Like just after this, there's a moment where it seems like they're all going to die and they all get teleported. And you know that it's Lilith, but because you played the games, but it's set up as like a reveal, which is weird. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead again because this is when Claptrap is like, hey, remember that thing I said could never be repaired in a million years? Well, I just repair it. And Lil's like, shit, and immediately breaks it again. I played that for comedy. The movie does not. That would have been funny. And then from the device being online for however long, Atlas knows where they are. And so he shows up and he's like, hey, remember that I would like that girl back who is, more of my experiment than my daughter. Tina overhears just the exact part of the conversation, classic movie style.
Mm-hmm.
She hears just the part of the conversation she needs to where it sounds like Lilith is maybe backstabbing her. So she throws a bomb at her. And then they go to escape, right? Am I getting the order right? Is that when they have the weird fight in the caustic corridors? I don't know. I might be fudging.
No. Yeah, you're fudging it.
Okay.
So they have the fight in the corridor. And that's when Roland's character sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
For them all to escape.
Yeah. Okay, so am I just to make sure I have it straight. So we'll recap this all in a second. But so they have that weird hallway fight, they escape, and is that when suddenly the device is repaired and she talks to the Atlas dude? Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they escape through the elevator. Roland saves himself. Yeah. They get to where when they get teleported. Goddamn movie.
Yeah.
When they get teleported,
yeah,
it's nighttime now. They went another 30 seconds, so it's nighttime.
Yep.
And then they had that's the claptrap thing.
Okay. My apologies. We have to talk about the moment where Roland, quote unquote, sacrifices himself. Unbelievable. So so there's this fight that happens. They get, oh, that's right. Okay, so yeah, they get the key that they need. Yes, they get the key that they need. For no reason, suddenly everyone's alerted that they're there. I guess it's because Claptrap does a poop joke. And suddenly everyone, all of the bad guys that aren't psychos, know that they're there. And that's when there is the one moment where someone has a flamethrower, they get shot, Cate Blanchett picks up the flamethrower and uses it. Thank you. I wish it had a little purple glowing light coming out of the top of it before
that would be amazing.
And then they go into this hallway, still in the caustic caverns, and there's a elevator that they're trying to get into and they can't. There's also a gate that they close off to stop from some of the bad guys from coming in, but it seems like Roland and the psycho dude are maybe trapped outside of it fighting off guys. It's
no,
really
he did shut it, so because he was in the elevator with them.
Yeah. Okay.
So they closed the gate that led into the tunnel that leads to the thing. So all of the non-psychos room that they were in.
Okay.
Or in the room that they were in.
Yeah.
And now there's a gate shut.
All I know is that me and Sam were all sitting in a row, and Sam leaned over to me and she's like, where are those guys? Are they outside of the gate? Or and I was like, I don't really know for sure. And then she leaned over and I sat back, and then you leaned over to me and you're like, how'd they get in from the And of course they're all in hallways, and all the shots are, again, no wides, just super close up on action to where I'm like,
yes.
You're like, what is happening? Where is everyone? Who are they shooting at?
You don't know if the gate is south, east, west, or north.
Right. Yeah,
because it's all close-ups, so it is very confusing.
Yeah. Yes. And then they get the elevator working and everything. But there's, I guess, no buttons inside the elevator. I forget what the narrative excuse is. There's only buttons outside of the elevator to make it go up or down. So Roland, Kevin Hart, decides to sacrifice himself and press the button and shoot them up. Apparently the Willy Wonka elevator that just shoots into the sky, because there's no stopping this elevator. Anyway, so Kevin Hart's shooting all the bad guys and he gets overwhelmed, and there's a very clear shot where like 8, maybe I'm exaggerating, 5 to 8 guys completely dogpile him. And it's like, I know in movies, unless you see someone get shot, they're probably not dead. Like, unless you see it. But literally just a bunch of dudes jump on top of him. It cuts to the elevator. They're like about to die, and Lilith teleports them to safety, but you think it's Tina because she's so special.
Mm-hmm.
And then it cuts back to Kevin Hart like a few minutes later, and it just shows a bunch of dead guys in a hallway, and he gets up like, whew. And I think he says like, that's the worst orgy I've ever been. So,
Yeah, he says that.
Like
he says that, and then he
what?
picks up the bunny so he threw a bunny in there and exploded everything. And I thought the explosion, because they're walking on grate that's over the acid river.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't that blow up the fucking gate landing strip? So when he wakes up and says that, he picks up the bunny's head where the bomb is in.
Yeah.
So that means bunny head goes boom, no more bunny. He picks it up and he goes, oh, thank God I had you, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that saying that he had another bunny that had the same name of Bob, and that's why he survived?
This is my hot take conspiracy on this moment. I think, well, they just shouldn't have had that shot of dudes dogpiling on him. If they wanted to do that gotcha moment, he could have just thrown the bunny, it explodes, and they cut. And then when it cuts back to him, everyone's dead, and he like moves the dead body off of him. That would make way more sense. But because he throws the bunny, it explodes, and then you see people come through it, and that's when it has the shot of them dogpiling on him. It just makes no sense. So I almost wonder if that's like one of those scenes they shot 2 ways, and they're like, oh, let's see how it is in editing, and they just kind of used all of it.
Yeah.
But that was super weird.
Made no sense.
Dom's nice camera exploded, so here we are. But Dom, I have some breaking news that Sam just told me.
What happened?
This movie was shot to be R and edited to be PG-13. You called it.
Wow.
You called it. Yep.
That's great, because I said it in the theater, like, if there's an R version, I would love to see it.
Yeah, eventually for our podcast, I want Sam to be producer, which is what she has been doing right now, where like she can chime in with stuff. The was it the stunt coordinator?
Yeah, he said they were quote blowing people's heads off.
Apparently, violent headshots and shit, says the stunt coordinator.
Yeah.
What is our podcast haunted today? My light keeps fucking flickering. Yeah, so that makes so much sense that this was originally supposed to be R, especially being an Eli Roth film. Like, not that it would have made it, so much better, but I'm sure it would have been better.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I was missing. Like, there's no dismemberments and craziness happening.
Yeah, it's a violent game.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, I think Sam said like this movie felt like Mad Max for kids.
That's perfect.
But yeah, so Lilith shows up on the hill and is like, "Hey, I'm here to save the day." I leaned over to Sam and I really wanted the joke because she stands like on the top of the hill, very like backlit and cinematic, and I just wanted a shot of the bad guy like.
That would have been amazing.
Man, I guess I didn't bring this up at the beginning because it's maybe spoilers, but not even a Handsome Jack cameo or anything. At least not one that I noticed. And yeah, the bad guy just feels so lame by comparison. I was like, maybe a Handsome Jack right in this end scene or something, but anyway, I don't know. Any thoughts on the end? I almost don't feel like recapping it. It's like so. They bring the bad guy into the vault. Lilith gets wings, and I don't know. I feel like that works in a video game, but it felt like pretty cheesy here.
It
Just felt like, oh,
fucking cheesy.
right.
And then
It's
like,
oh,
but
she
they had
suddenly
the
has
big
powers.
fucking monster boss there the whole time. Like he shows
Yeah.
up, this big old like black armor, like sick looking crazy guy.
Yeah, like
Utilize that.
Super Raider.
Yeah.
No, and they even give him like a title card in the end credit.
Yeah.
It's literally just like Captain Phasma from
Oh my gosh, I fucking hate how
Episode
they
8.
killed
Like,
Phasma.
it's literally that again, like 100%.
Phasma was so fucking sick. They ruined it.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, you're right. It's that exact thing again. It's like, hey, I'm a big bad guy. It's like finally someone different, and he just gets killed like immediately.
Yeah.
I wonder with stuff like that. I wonder if the fight between him and big Psycho Raider was originally more violent or something, and they had to cut around it.
Yeah.
Who knows? The ending was very anticlimactic.
Very cheesy.
And then, yeah, yep. Lilith using her powers to apparently make all of them invincible is a very lame fight when suddenly all of your main characters are invincible. It's not very fun. They don't even do anything cool with it. I wish Tina realized she was invincible and just like barreled into someone to launch him into one of the holes in the ground or something.
Yeah.
And then the end scene is right out of that terrible Fantastic Four movie where it's like they're almost all leaning on an edge, like smoking a cigarette, like that crazy time's over, huh, kids? And and the city's launching fireworks and stuff, and like, yo, this company Atlas is like has a monopoly on literally everything. Like they kill the bad guy and take down one of his small planes. So what, the whole company is done? Like the fucking vice president is just gonna step in and be a jackass as well. It's so weird, like as if the whole thing just like disintegrated.
They didn't put a lot of thought into the story whatsoever, man. Like there is just so many things like that in the whole. I mean, it's the same thing with the fucking communication device, which she was tracking the whole time, and it wasn't a transmitter. It was it wasn't a transmitter. It was a tracker.
Sure, yeah.
Like there is just so much misdirection in the work, not in like misdirection in a clever, cool way that makes you think and be like, oh yeah. It was just misdirection because there was no direction.
Yeah, and like with the tracker thing again too, it works for. I mean, I guess it's ambiguous as to when Claptrap fixed it, but presumably he fixed it and then pretty much immediately told her.
Yeah.
And Atlas has like a device there to talk to her in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like, why didn't he just use that device to find her and talk to her in the first place? Why did he have to send like goons to intimidate her? And there's just a lot of stuff like that throughout the movie where it'll like set up something of just like A happens, so B is a consequence. And then later A happens and you're like, oh, it's going to be that thing again. And it's like, no, it was just for that one moment to get the plot along.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very weird.
Very underwhelming.
But yeah, that's the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, not bad, just fine.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're being pretty harsh on it.
Yeah.
I feel like... I also feel like we're not that harsh, but it's like...
Yeah.
The 6% on Rotten Tomatoes and the 3 on IGN, I think... The movie's fucking fine. I said it in the theater, but it did it did seem like Eli Roth saw Spy Kids and was like, "Ooh, I want to make Spy Kids," and he made Spy Kids about Borderlands.
Yeah, you said that Robert Rodriguez should have done this one, and
Yeah.
I agree. I think that would have been actually really fun. That's a great pick.
Right. Yeah, Robert.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I'd be so interested if they do an unrated version. We're
That'd
gonna
be
have to
fucking
do another
amazing.
podcast.
Oh yeah, I would totally watch it again if we don't ever get an unrated one. Like I said, it's a movie that you could put on Netflix in the background or watch it with your family and play a board game on the side or something. You know,
Totally.
chill. It's not offensive. I've tried to watch worse movies that I
Yeah.
can't even get through, and this was fine.
Totally. Yeah, for as many like complaints and weird annoyances I have, like it really maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but it like does not deserve a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. It deserves like a 40.
Yeah.
But that's still way higher than 7. It's like it's a it might be like kind of directionless and boring, but it's not like it's made by, you can tell it's made by someone that's made a bunch of movies before. Like
Totally.
it's competent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you said, it makes me want to play the game again. So that's
totally.
something. Yeah.
I think it's something. I'm excited to download it again. So it's fine. Fuck the internet. It's fucking
Yeah.
fine. I don't know what else
Yep.
to say. Like, it's sad. It was weird going to a movie opening weekend and there being 4 other people inside the theater.
Yeah. This is a movie made for streaming. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, no, it totally is. So because we got there so late. We got there like you said, maybe like 2 to 5 minutes into the movie. Like we didn't miss much.
Yeah.
But it was so dark in there. And that whole scene was dark because you were saying it was like cyber noir type of
Yeah.
setting. But I got a hot dog. That's why we were late. So I'm sorry. I wanted a hot dog.
What happened with that hot dog, Dom?
So I put it on my lap so I can try to so I can dress it so I have like relish and mustard, but it's pitch fucking black in there. Like I can't see my hand in front of me.
Crazy dark in that theater. Yeah.
I've never been in a theater that dark. But so I squeeze all my relish and mustard on and I'm like getting ready to eat it and I'm eating my hot dog and I'm like, man, this is the most bland tasting relish and mustard I've ever had in my life. Why does I can only taste hot dog? And then like halfway through the movie I like touch my pants and there's like a line of relish and mustard on my pants because I totally missed the hot dog.
Just like perfectly in the flap of your fly is just like a line of mustard relish.
Damn it.
All right, I think that's a good place to end it. Do you have any closing thoughts, or is that good?
No, that's good.
I would be happy to see a sequel. It won't happen, but like genuinely, if they could learn from their mistakes and like bring back the same cast, I think someone else could make a very good Borderlands 2, or if this even inspires a, actual direct to streaming miniseries or sequel, I will actually be excited because I like the cast and they nailed the look. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for watching our podcast that is nearly as long as the movie. And
sorry for my video.
Oh no, you're good. It's beautiful. I normally don't say this, but hey, leave us a like. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you subscribed it.
Yay.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.